Hello, I'm Yan. Today I'm going to go through the project called Penrith at Margaret Drive, GLS. Amidst all the recent launches as well as the upcoming ones, I think Penrith at Margaret Drive is going to be one of the most anticipated launch this year. Therefore, I'm going to go through it first and then followed by the Sky at Holland as well as Faber Residences. So here's the contents that I'm going to go through today. I'm going to go through the project information really quickly because all this information can actually be found online. So don't waste too much of everybody's time. And then, of course, the convenience of the project and the analysis, as well as pricing estimation, the exit plan, as well as my personal opinions. Whatever I share today is my own research and my own estimation and shall not be used as any financial planning, so please always do your own research. So I'm going to quickly go through the project information. The condo name is called Penrith. We are in the RCR region in District 3, Subtown, Margaret Drive, and we have a plot ratio of 4.2. So total units are pretty healthy at 460. We are 2 blocks of 40 stories, so pretty high to get a good view. This is actually bidded by Guaco Land and Hong Leong Limited as partners. Looking at the land bid, 497 million. The PSF per plot ratio is going to be at 1,154. Estimated break-even PSF at 2026. We are relatively close to the MRT, about 5 minutes away, right in front of Queenstown and the HDB at Skyview. Next, I'm going to go through the analysis of the surrounding projects to get a gauge on what we expect performance of Penrith to be. And we have Queen's Peak, Commonwealth Tower, Queen's, Sterling Residences, the Anchorage, as well as Margaret View. So all these projects are non-harmonized. So Penrith will be the first harmonized project in this area, right? So what we have here is the two beta analysis. And we have the average quantum, the average PSF, number of transactions, as well as average profits, average annualized gains, as well as the average rent. These performances, I think Sterling Residences stand out among the rest at 4.57%, followed by the Anchorage, which is a freehold project, and it's slightly further away from it is actually quite far away from the MRT. And so the next actually run up here, we have a Queen's Peak. For the 2 bedrooms. So average rent wise are pretty average across all the condominiums at $4,700 and the average annualized at 3.7%. I think this is slightly brought down by Margaret View annualized gain. Alright, moving to the 3 bedroom, we have a total of 1,706 units. And the average quantum transacted is going to be at 2.27 million. Average PSF 2,103, slightly brought down by Queens, which is a much older project. Right, number of transactions pretty healthy. Looking at Queens, although it's an older condominium, there is actually 30 transactions already in the past 2 years. So average profit wise, looking pretty good at $740,000. But the most important one would be the average annualized. We're looking at actually 4.8%. So with Sterling Residences again leading the charge at 6.33%, followed by the Anchorage and Commonwealth Towers. We have an average rent of 4.8%, which is relatively good, actually, very decent in the current market. Of course, 4.8, this is just an average. If you're looking at the individual condo, they have their own different performances, and all those have to be dive down deeper as we analyze more data, right? So looking at the average rent, it's pretty consistent throughout at high 5,000, 6,000, only for Sterling going at about 7,000, and the average comes out to be about $6,200 for the 3 bedder rent. Right, moving on to the 4 bedroom. Again, the annualized gains is pretty close to the 3 bedroom, slightly brought down by Queens, but again, Sterling Residences is doing really well in terms of average annualized gains, and the average rent we're looking at about $8,000. Sterling Residences at 9,200. Right, so the performance in this area, it's actually pretty good, averaging at about almost 5%. There's some areas that don't even achieve such numbers. So we foresee Penrith to be doing as well if the developer price it correctly, as well as the layouts, right? So pricing estimation wise, we're going to use the recent launches by Guaco Land, right, to see how we can actually get an estimation or indicative price on our end before the developers release their indicative. So this just get you a little bit prepared. So we have Lentor Modern that actually launched a couple years back, and they are non-harmonized. So their average rent cost is at 1,002, And after the break even and the average sale price, the margin from land cost is 78%, and then the margin from the entry price break even is actually 11%. And then we move on to Lentor Mansion. We have $985, Lentor Central $982, and then the most recent one that did very well, Springleaf Residences at $905. So their margin from land cost is within the 130% to 140% range, and then for the margin from the break even is about 24 to 29%. So using these numbers, we come up with a table to actually kind of get a lowest range to highest range for the price that we may expect, right? The average for recent Guaco lands launches, we have 119%, including the non-harmonized project. And then if we include the harmonized project, we are at 132%, and 22 and 26%, so forth, right? So we have the lowest range at 2,481 PSF all the way up to 2,680. Okay, so using these numbers, why is it important? Because early this year, there is a launch called Elta. Their PSF per plot ratio is actually higher than Penrith, and this is actually in the OCR region. And the estimated break-even PSF is going to be at 2,156. Looking at the break-even for Penrith, we are looking at 2,026. Right, so there is some opportunity there again if the developer price it correctly. Looking at Elta, already sold an average of 2,547 PSF all the way up to 2,881, and starting from 2,200 PSF. So again, Elta is an OCR region, and if the developer price it a bit competitively or more sensitively, we may expect to see something close to Elta. But sometimes a developer wants to make money, right? They're a business, so I doubt they'll launch anything lower than Elta. But there is a chance they may launch slightly higher than Elta due to its location, right? We are closer to town. So for the pricing estimation, to be conservative, I'm going to price our projected average PSF to be at around 2,700. So using the released size by the developer, our 2 bedrooms, you're going to have 614 to 678 square feet. The 3 bedroom, we have 786 and 1066. 4 bedroom, 1173 and 1281. So my guess, we have an average of 2007. So this is our starting prices. 1.6 million, 1.65 million for the 614 square feet, 1.8 for the 678, and then 2.12, 2.78, 2.87 for the 3 bedroom, and then the 4 bedroom starting from about 3.1 onwards to about 3.45. Right, so just get ready that these are the starting prices. I'm going to be a bit more conservative on my end, so consumers like yourself don't get a shock when sometimes developer want to make more money. So what this table actually shows is the quantum of Penrith using my estimated guesses of 2,700 PSF, and we actually kind of get this range of 1.83 all the way to 3.167 for the 4 bedroom. And the average surrounding quantum was shown earlier. I picked out a couple of surrounding condominiums, or in fact all the surrounding condominiums except Alexis, as Alexis is mainly 1 and 2 bedrooms, so it's not really an accurate data to show right? So an average of 1.729 for the 2 bedrooms, 2.27 for the 3 bedrooms, and 2.9 for the 4 bedrooms in the average surroundings. And the gap from our starting prices to these average prices, we're looking at $100,000 more for the 2 bedroom and $600,000 more for the 3 bedrooms and $200,000 more for the 4 bedrooms. But of course, this is the higher range that I've taken, and you have to factor in that the surrounding condominiums are actually slightly older, right? And then the highest achieved quantum will be 2.5, 2.9, almost 3, and 3.3 for the 4 bedrooms. This is actually slightly brought up due to the size at Anchorage being a bit much bigger, right? So the gap between the highest starting prices, you're looking at about almost 700,000 for the 2 bedrooms, 117,000 for the 3 bedrooms, as well as 133,000 for the 4 bedrooms. So why is this important? Is because we want to understand what is the market price that is actually accepted by resale buyers already, right? You don't want to be pricing something way out, where consumers have not even seen such prices in this area before. Then that's going to put you in a bit of a risk, right? And then looking at the supply and demand, the 2 bedrooms, current units for sale in the surrounding condominiums, we have 87. I actually brought this down by about 20-30% because there are a couple of duplicated listings, so just to get a bit more of an accurate data. And then the 3 bedrooms, we have 33 units, and then the 4 bedrooms, we have 6. And the total supply of units, we have 1347, 1706, and 267. So we're looking at the demand for the past 2 years. We have 208 transactions for the 2 bedrooms, 133 and then 22 for the 4 bedrooms. And it comes up to be 15%, take up rate in the 2 bedrooms, which is actually pretty high, right? So you're averaging 104 units of transactions per year just for the 2 bedrooms, and then 8% for the 3 and 4 bedrooms. We have 8%. So we are actually seeing a lot of demand coming into this area, and I'll explain a little bit more why I think so. The reason why I think there is demand coming into the Queenstown area is due to the fact that I don't think there's much supply, between the Clementi all the way to Queenstown region, right? Looking at Clementi, we have, Park Clementi's, Regent Park, the Triling, as well as your latest launches, at Clavon, Elta, and then the Clement Canopy. So these are the condos that are actually around Clementi, which are pretty popular, very high in demand. But if you want to look something closer to town from Clementi onwards, you actually do not have a lot of options, right? So I'm going to bring you through. Looking at the next stop at Dover, we do not have any condominiums at all until we are closer to somewhere like Buona Vista, where you can see the Dover Park view, the Heritage view. But these are nowhere close to the MRT, right? Other than the Rochester residences. But the Rochester residences, if you actually see it from the outside, it's actually very commercialized. Balconies are huge, and the demand there and the performance there is actually not very good, right? So the next thing you can look at is only the Blossoms by the Park, which is almost fully sold. We have One North Eden, One North Residences, as well as the Hue at One North. So this area itself is actually more catered towards the investors kind of profile. Actually, if you look into all the unit mix for these condominiums, you will realize why. If you want further details, you can text me at in my number. But I don't think there's a lot of family profiles here, and actually you need a lot of family kind of upgraded to actually see better analyzed gains. Right. So after Buona Vista, if you move further down, we have Commonwealth. Again, we do not have any supply at all for condominiums, right? And then the next one, we have Queenstown, where I shared earlier all the supply that we actually have. So from Clementi all the way to Queenstown, if you want to move somewhere closer to town, I think Queenstown is the more viable option compared to the Buona Vista. So there's actually not much in between that our buyers can choose from, right? Either you choose Clementi, if not you choose Queenstown or beyond. So looking at the exit, we have, HDB upgraders, second property owners, landed downgraders, and first-time buyers. So where are these buyers actually located? Let me show it to you on a map. So where are these HDB upgraders coming from? I actually put out the map over here. We have Clementi all the way up to Gimo, Dover, all the way up to Redhill. And as you can see, the 4 and 5 bedders all the way up to the EA, the prices are ranging between 730,000 all the way to 1.85 million, right? Averaging out at about 1.13 million. Of course, some of these prices is a little bit unrealistic, but as we know, Dover towards the Tiong Bahru region, HDBs have been going at a bit of a crazy price, especially Redhill. So with $1.13 million in average HDB prices, you can expect HDB upgraders to be looking to upgrade between the $2 to $3 million range pretty easily, right? Anything more will be, really subjected to their loan and earning income. But between the early $3 million range, I think it is actually relatively doable for most of these upgraders. This is not accounting HDB that are actually under construction now at Gimo, right? Once this is done, once the MOP, I'm pretty sure there will be more upgraders, which is unaccounted for in the current data that I'm showing. So for landed downgraders, we actually have areas above, Queenstown, Dover area. We have the Holland V region. We have the Mount Sinai region, where landeds there are actually priced pretty high, and we should expect some families to actually downgrade the cash out from their big homes. And then we have, of course, first-time buyers, first-time couple, first-time singles who will start with their investment journey or actually their own stay. Every new launch, there will be first-time buyers. So for my personal opinions, I think there is a possible close pricing gap between Penrith and Elta. If Penrith actually launched around the same price as Elta, I think it's a very good opportunity. But even so, if Penrith launches slightly above Elta, I think it's pretty fair as there is a location difference, right? OCR versus RCR, and Queenstown is relatively much closer to town. And of course, there is minimal competition for Penrith. If you look on the master plan, there actually isn't much land anymore in the Margaret Drive area or Queenstown as a whole. So moving on to the cons, I actually don't really like the close proximity to buildings such as your Queenstown Primary School as well as the HDB behind. And the plot is actually looking very similar to Margaretville. And depending how the developer is going to angle the buildings, right? If they're going to follow the way Margaretville does it, then you're going to have direct east and west sun, which a lot of buyers wouldn't like. But looking at the price again, you have to see what's the entry price. There are examples of other projects with direct east and west sun, which also did pretty well. The next con, the lack of landscaping. If you compare it to something like Sterling Residences nearby, you will actually see the land difference. You'll see that actually Sterling Residences will be a little bit more iconic due to its landscape density. So with the lack of landscaping, you may expect lesser facilities or maybe more cramped facilities as compared to Sterling Residences. So this comes to the end of my Penrith review. Although there's not much information yet, please use all this information with a pinch of salt, right? Developer have not released anything. So if you like more details, to prepare for this launch, please drop me a WhatsApp in the description box below. So with that, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.